Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice and Glen, Cowie, where we talk about all things Tottenham Hotspur from both the match attending and international supporters view. Glen, are you good?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Looking forward to introducing our guest in a moment. But yeah, broadly, I'm good. Other than this horrible cold snap that's come to Melbourne this morning, it was 1 degree first thing this morning. So
I'm not
ready
I've got
for
no
spring.
sympathy here.
Yeah, that'll be you soon as we're in the
Yeah.
warmth of summer. But no, I'm good. We'll get to it in a minute. I'm trying to work out who this player Richarlison is. I don't know who he might be. Before we do that, Richard, welcome to Home and Away, mate. Good to have you.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Graeme. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so I guess for our viewers and listeners, we won't let the accent fool them. Obviously English, but New Zealand Spurs, right?
Yeah. We're called the Kiwi Spurs. We've been going since about 2009. Started by Brett, who was a season ticket holder, probably still is, down in Canterbury, South Island, and taken over by a guy called Paul Rusco, who's a big friend of the Tottenham club. He knows all the players. He goes everywhere. He's emigrated to Los Angeles, where he's got a child and a wife now, and I took over in about 2018. So for my sins, I look after 2 chapters here in Auckland and another chapter down in Wellington. So it's about 600 people strong, and we have paid membership and unpaid membership, and it's certainly brought all the plastics and all the closets out when we played in the Europa final a few months back.
It's funny
that
I hadn't even considered this, Richard, that when we spoke to Hugh last week, like, people who have been in Tottenham supporters for a long time, even like Hugh's an American supporter, not like an expat, and even he said he doesn't like going as much now because it's full of plastics, basically. Yeah. That's effectively what he said, right? It's too busy and there's too many plastics. He preferred it when it was a unique and exclusive club.
When it was underground.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, actually. I mean, go back to Paul Roscoe. Roscoe and I used to go to our nominated pub in Auckland, a place called The Fox. And sometimes, and I can remember a game, Swansea versus Spurs, where Ericsson scored in the very, very last moment and kicked over the water bottle. There were just 2 of us in the pub at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know,
Yeah.
and you bond in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when the Europa Cup came on, we had a members-only pub called the Club, which is our home place Irish pub, and I limited everything to about 100 people, and there were other people saying, "Oh, well, you can't do this, it's a pub," and I said, "I can do anything I damn well like, because we actually own the pub." So, you know, go somewhere else to watch it. And I made a few enemies, but we made more friends, actually, because they realised that the membership gave them certain privileges. And the camaraderie, I mean, this weekend, the Man City game, for example, they'll be open and everyone can turn up for that one. You know, we probably would get an average of 20 to 30 on a game day that's conducive to watching. But, you know, when suddenly all these plastics come out of the woodwork, you know, you've got to pick your friends first.
Yeah.
So what's time difference for you, Richard, compared to Glen? Is it like another 2 hours or?
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so he's 2 hours ahead of me, yeah.
My wife arrived in Melbourne last night, and I tried to call her this morning and then just realised that it was about 6:30 over there. So no, that was 2 hours. And so by the way, we got all your wet weather from a couple of days ago.
Yeah, enjoy that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We're having droughts here. It's insane. Like, it's the driest year I think I can remember. Like, spring was dry. There's a pond where I walk the dog. It's completely dried out. It's like a dust bowl. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's not the England I know.
Yeah, indeed.
All this
indeed.
woke England.
But Richard, you offline, you were sharing with us, you have a bit of a family connection to Spurs as well.
Yeah, so my connection with Tottenham goes back to about 1970, when I can remember the first game. And my dad took me to the old Dell. We were brought up, I was born in Southampton and brought up in and around Southampton for 20 odd years. And my dad, who wasn't a big football fan, took me to the Dell to watch my cousin play for Tottenham. He'd moved from Southampton to Spurs in 1968 for 125,000, which then was a record. And his name was Martin Chivers, and a lot of your listeners and viewers will remember that name. Lovely chap, Bill Nicholson's best friend. Well, he wasn't for a number of years, but then he became an adopted son when Bill Nick retired. So my first ever game was 1970, and I was at the Dell surrounded by a load of Dockers because Southampton is and the crowd was 90% Dockers. And he took me for the next 2 or 3 home games. Yeah, woe betide anybody who said anything bad about Martin Chivers, because Chivers was a very well-known name in Southampton, and effectively they were all Dockers, so they would sort you out as quick as look at you.
Oh, what a story. Yeah, I remember my old man, well, he still does, he speaks fondly of Martin Chivers because that was his era of going as well. He was a season ticket holder, done 70s, and yeah, he was a fantastic player. But no, great stuff. But Graeme, I was so excited to introduce our invited guest. I forgot to ask how you were, mate. How are you going? How was the barbecue?
So barbecue went well. I managed to watch the game. I watched it on time delay, but I watched the whole game, and we'll cover that off in a bit. So the other thing I wanted to say, this week is the first time I've heard the term Frank ball. So I'm not sure if it'll catch on, but I've seen it in social media a little bit. I'm not sure if I like it. It just feels a bit like.
Well, if he keeps dropping into the local boozers around the neighbourhood,
It was in Graeme, wasn't he?
yeah, well, I've been in that pub.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I know the one it was. Yeah, like how funny that he was doing them. But he did that at Brentford apparently. I didn't know
Really?
this. Yeah, it was quite commonplace. But then someone was writing on one of the socials, do you think he'd do it as frequently when we play a London club?
Like after a 3-0 loss in a North London derby.
Yeah.
He'll be smuggled out under a blanket.
No, indeed. So, Richard, your viewing of that game then, because that would have been local time for you, 2 a.m, right? Because it was midnight for me.
Yeah, 2 a.m. there's no problem. We're so used to having to get up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. In fact, I texted my cousin's husband, who's from Burnley, and I got a load of abuse before the game. We have a ritual. That time in the morning, and being winter is a bit chilly. My son and I, who's 31, bless him, and the dog, who you may hear from shortly, we sit on the sofa, we have a cup of tea, we have bovril on toast, and then we get into it. So, yeah, it's not a problem. It's actually, as you get older, it's the day after the next day that's the problem, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it gives you basic jet lag, doesn't it? If the equivalent.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, because there's so much TV coverage, you're then tempted to follow on and begin to watch the next game.
5:30 match, and then
that's terrible.
Yeah. Another rant about when I say I saw it on time delay, and that's because, of course, in the UK there was a 3 p.m. blackout because it's 3 p.m. Saturday game.
Don't get excited, Richard.
Yeah, I did a whole rant on it. Funnily enough, it was the highest viewed short from the clip from our recording last time. It was about over 600 people.
Graham's rant on 3 p.m. blackouts.
I quite think it's 2025. Why do we still have a blackout on a Saturday? It's I guarantee you, even if it was every game was on the TV, the stadiums would still be full now. And I think you said maybe it's about the lower league teams with people who have a second team. But I'm not convinced that that's a thing in modern football. But it's not going to change, is it? Well, not until there's money involved in it for someone.
No such issues for the Australian and the New Zealand contingent and the American contingent. Every game is on TV.
Yeah, there's something not right about this.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate.
Even like I've got customers like Vodafone's a customer, and they have TV in multiple countries around Europe, and they all have all the matches. So it's mad. Never mind.
But I think as I touched on, it was you said you called it Frank ball, but I was really surprised to see the midfield that he went with.
It was same.
So I was really surprised by that. I was like, okay, interesting. So he's not only gone like not who we've signed, but he's gone young and maybe not as inexperienced as he once was in terms of Gray. His age maybe defies that because obviously he played a lot of football last season. But I was very surprised to see that. And then you've got Polinia and Bentancur on the bench. But does that mean rested? But does that mean for you? And we'll get into this in a bit. Do they play against City then? Does he mix it up?
Oh yeah, you don't think so?
No, I don't think he'll start with Gray and.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think Polinia and Bentancur start? Yeah.
There's too much experience there, and Man City are a different kettle of fish altogether, especially with this new guy, Reindeers, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Reindeers, Rudolph. I think we might switch to a back five again. I think
And
for teams
Danko
where we
comes
need
in.
to contain them, I
Yeah.
think it works.
The
If we could do
blueprint's
that.
there, isn't it, for what we did against PSG, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think the first half was that clever. It was ugly for me.
Yeah.
And I don't actually, and this will be unpopular, don't absolutely subscribe with Graeme Bergveld being first choice or being as good as they are. I thought Burnley's only real chances were running through them. Although Sarr was really good at sort of like tracking back. And I know how good Gray is. Gray is really good. He needs his time. But for me, I thought there was a marked difference when Bentancur and Paulinho came on. We looked more solid. We looked a bit more exciting. Maybe the other two youngsters got a bit tired. But if you're gonna play a mix and match of those two, I would say Gray and
One or
Bergveld
the other.
option for like 70 minutes or 80
Yeah.
minutes.
I think both of them have played better when they're in the more advanced 8 role. Even Gray, I thought in pre-season looked better, being more adventurous, distributing the ball more rather than sitting and holding and breaking
Against
up play.
Newcastle wasn't a particularly good game. He was brilliant, I thought. He
Yeah,
ran the whole of the midfield.
yeah,
And
he
that's
he
what
was
you need.
he was good, but then we didn't have anyone really to do the deeper lying role then, did we? And Pliny is definitely that person. Clearly, because he doesn't do anything else. He's a quite destructive player rather than
Well,
a
isn't it
constructive player.
the most tackles, that number of tackles still hasn't been beaten since he's left Fulham, like in a season. Like, so he's not even been in the Premier
Yeah.
League and that's the record.
And it just gives us an extra bit of shield in front of the defence, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, something else I wanted to touch on before we get into the performances of particularly Kudus and Richarlison. We were the beneficiary of one of the new rules. The goalkeeper having
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I was like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, we've got a corner. Like,
That's,
they're implemented it.
It was just
Yeah.
a look at. No one knew what was going to happen, did they? They were all looking at each other.
Yeah. I was confused. I was like, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, right, yeah, I remember this.
I
Yeah.
think it keeps the game moving, right? Especially when people are trying to slow the game down. I'm okay with it. I think it's sensible.
Yeah, as an ex-goalkeeper, one of the things that really, really bugs me from a spectator's point of view is when the ball gets kicked out for a goal kick and the keeper takes the ball to the other side of the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
Just to waste a bit of time.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. That's
And then
absolutely
wipes his hands on a towel in the back of the goal.
Yeah.
Kicks his studs on the
kicks
post.
his studs against the post.
Yeah.
The whole repertoire.
This morning, what's his name? Jordan Pickford for Everton decided the penalty was given against him in about the 83rd, 84th minute. And he picked up his water bottle, and on his water bottle were the signs that all the penalty takers were going to take. And he stood there and studied it for about 15 seconds so that no one could take the penalty. They got all their little foibles worked out just to delay the kicker from coming up, taking the kick and moving on. I think if you're gonna penalise goalkeeper for holding the ball for 8 seconds, then you've got to look at other delaying tactics.
Yeah.
And the other one that really bugs me, I don't know about you, is it's a delay tactic, but it's also an advantage gain, which is the throw-ins. The throw-ins, they walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decide they're going to stop and then take another 5 metres. Decide they're going to stop and then throw it by taking a run up.
That's been my bugbear for years. Like, and I tell you who used to be, and probably still is, he's now at Burnley, but Kyle Walker for us.
Yeah, yes.
He is one of the masters at it. Like,
He gained 30 yards down the side of the pitch.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Speaking of the notes on the water bottle, did you hear what the England women's keeper did during the penalties? When she went in goal, first thing she did was throw the opponent's goalkeeper's water bottle into the crowd.
Yeah, she looked at him and got rid of it. Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. But no, good stuff. But well, look, I touched on it. Obviously, kudos, but Richarlison, he seems to just hit. We've got to keep him fit, like, because that's in his locker, isn't it? Like, clearly, and it wasn't so much that it was just a wonder goal and then he didn't do a lot else. Both goals were really good, but his general contribution across the game was wonderful, and I thought he played really well in the Super Cup final as well, despite the first
he did.
few minutes. He looked a bit shaky, but he looks like a different player, doesn't he? Completely revitalised.
Do you know he's a dividing character, but at the same time he's a trier as well. He's a horrible centre forward to play against because he leaves his arm in, he leaves his leg in,
goes down like he's been shot at any
Yeah, like a pack of
opportunity.
spuds. Yeah. And the other thing is, he sticks his arse into the midriff of the defender, and all the defender's got to do is just accidentally touch him, and he goes down crying like a baby, bless him. And I've always liked him, like you say, Glenn. You know, if you can keep him fit, he'll score goals. Wasn't there some statistic that came out that said of the last 10 home games that he started, he scored 7 or 9 goals or something?
Yeah.
It's a lot. But
It's
I guess that's always been the problem with him. It's never been whether he could fulfil a role for us. It's been how
Keep
often
him,
a
yeah.
season can we get him to do that? We have a few players like that. Often mentioned on this pod is James Maddison, who, when he is at his best, he makes us tick, and we Tottenham play at their best when he's playing well. But he doesn't do that often enough for me. And so they're players like, well, and then injuries as well, same kind of thing. You miss them for last waves of the season, and you can't build a squad around that level of injury. It's just it's a
You
lot.
know, he could easily have had a goal or two against PSG.
Yes, yeah.
He could easily have had another goal on Saturday stroke Sunday. And I think he's got that natural talent for scoring. And look at Brazil. I mean, when it turns out for Brazil, he's their highest goal scorer in the past season and a half. Now,
I think
so he's got that kind of predatory instinct, but he hasn't got that kind of wow factor. The like. Actually, I watched the Liverpool game the other day on Saturday our time against Bournemouth, and that Ekatike, he
Yeah.
looks a handful.
Well, he scored against us, didn't he, for Frankfurt?
yeah.
Yeah, I think, we're always looking for that performance and that style of player to play every game that particular way.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a player like that
Yeah.
for ages. Even Kane went AWOL for a long time.
Well, and don't get me started on Kane's inability to show up in semis and finals, but there we go. That's for another episode.
No. No. Well, when you do, come back to me on that one, because I've got some.
But no, I mean, keeping him fit is key. But if we're talking about, obviously, well, first off, the second goal, it got a standing ovation from me. I mean, what a finish!
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Amazing.
But all
Even the
to do-
first one was like a half volley, wasn't it?
It was, and then obviously the second one, amazing finish. But two things about that second goal: it touched every player in the build-up.
Yeah,
Every
17
single
touches from the
17 touches,
goalkeeper.
every player touched it. And then so Frank was asked afterwards, I think, like, his answer was something akin to like, "Oh, I'm worried we've peaked too early or something. We're not going to score as good as a goal ever again."
It's just Burnley. Let's set our
yeah.
expectations early. It's
But,
Burnley. There will be harder challenges ahead.
The player that really, really impressed me, and he continues to. I knew he was good, but kudos, my word, like he was integral to everything we did well.
Do you know? Well, I'm sure you saw the Spurs TV interview with him afterwards. I just thought the way he spoke was excellent as well. I didn't know much about him, and of course, when he had that fracas with Van der Ven and Richarlison last season, I thought he was a bit of a hothead. So I wondered how the dressing room treated him when he turned up. But he spoke really, really well, and more importantly, you got a sense of he knew what his job is or was, and especially in that game, and that was to beat the defender and get the ball in the box for the strikers. It wasn't to be the number one guy, and he strikes me as being a bit like Michael Elise. He went from Crystal Palace to Bayern, and he's got that skill to stand someone up on a sixpence, and you don't see that very often. And now I'll tell you
change of pace.
The interesting thing that my son George came up with, he said, I wonder if Odegaard can do that on the opposite side. Because then we'd have two really good out-and-out wingers who take on defenders and get the ball in the box. And the question is, have we got the players in the box to put it away?
On the comment there about the opposite side, a player, and I know he scored, but I was watching that game and I'm actually thinking, right, okay, we're looking at Savinho. We've got Odegaard, who can clearly beat a man. I started to fear for Johnson's long-term future at Spurs, because him on the left is not a thing for me. And then he obviously popped up and scored, which I was very happy to see. Do you think...
Good goal as well.
It was a good, well-taken goal, but for me, he plays his best football off the right. Maybe you could argue you could utilise him down the middle, but the left just isn't a thing for me. I don't think he was very influential on the game. I don't think he can beat a man. I don't think it's his game. And then if you're in for someone like Savinho, and like you said, Richard, if Odegaard can do that job, and then you've got on the right Kulusevski and Kudus, when he comes back. But where does Johnson fit? Is there a concern there?
He's not got enough to his game, I don't think.
Yeah. And it seems ridiculous to say this. He was a top scorer, but
Yeah, but I think that there's a reason for that. The reason that Solanke, for instance, didn't score more goals last season because he had Son and Brendan Johnson either side of him, neither of whom are really very good at setting up chances for other people compared to other teams.
I have a funny enough. Half an hour before coming on here, a couple of the Spurs members posted on our WhatsApp group about what the long-term future of Johnson is, and exactly the same thing about Kudus.
Yeah.
And one wrote they forgot how good Johnson was at finishing. And the problem with Johnson is he doesn't take on players like Kudus did at the weekend, and he hasn't got the pace to go round players. But he does have this knack of turning up at the right place at the right time and putting the ball in the back of the net. Sometimes it's blooming ugly. Sometimes it's actually really, really good. But the thing is, if you then have two wingers whose main aim is to get the ball in the box for someone arriving or someone stood on the penalty spot, that role that Johnson plays is not going to be needed. However, we're in the Champions League as well, right? And so I have this feeling that Thomas Frank has got the skill set to go back to your point about playing a five earlier on. Up front, he's got the ability to mix and match that. And so,
you could play a two up front with him off of someone. Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be enough football, right, for him to mix it up, and we're going to need a squad, to your point. So I hope that it works out, and I hope he continues to deliver for us. Something we haven't talked about, Graeme, and I noticed that you put some notes, but there was a marriage proposal. I haven't had any of this.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So in the stand, a guy had a "marry me" on the back of his shirt, and then I think she said yes on another one or something. I can't remember exactly the details, but yeah, I don't need any of that stuff. I just want football.
Yeah, we just want the football. Oh God, funny.
It's almost as bad as the Americans having music at half time, like a band at half time.
Well,
don't want none of that stuff. None of that nonsense.
Speaking of Americanising the game, they started to pivot this season, haven't they? I haven't seen it happen yet, but they're speaking to managers at half time, and then they're getting interviews on the bench or something. Yeah, we don't.
Half time is for Bovril and pies.
Yeah.
Let's get this perspective.
Or Bovril, as Richard's case, before the game, yes, and a cup of tea. Indeed.
Mind you, it's Korean chicken at the Tottenham Stadium. The food selection is exquisite. None of that like ropey bagels and.
As I used to call it on the approach to White Hart Lane, the dirty burger that I used to get, and you'd feel wrong after
smell of burned onions.
Your hand would stink for weeks afterwards. But
the Paxton Road sausage sizzle was always a good one.
Yeah.
You didn't know how old the sausages were, and like you say, you could smell the waft of onions, so it must have been all right. From
dinosaur meat
coming down the high road.
Yeah, I was packed. Used to be, in the old stadium. I used to go be in the Paxton, so that's it was really funny as well because I used to go in. It was in block 10, right behind the goal. Someone who was in my class at school. She was the steward on the gate, so that would always be the same. Any time I'd see her would be at football, and still is. The only time I ever see her is at the football, and now she does VIP or something in the new stadium. But she's gone up in the world. She doesn't have to deal with the riffraff like us anymore. She's got all the VIPs.
Just going back to the game, just one quick point. Romero's performance, I thought at times he had a few misplaced passes, and he looked a bit. I don't know, he's got those in him, isn't he? It's almost like the difference of him being very, very good and world class.
I think that I'm talking about this with Thomas and Josh earlier. He's one of our most creative outlets with the ball. The pass for Brennan Johnson, as an example, right? He's able to pick a pass which none of the other defenders, or maybe Porro, but it's not really what they. He's unique in that sense, right? He gives us something other than just being, a destroyer of football. So I think there's that. So maybe he has more misplaced passes because he's trying to play more passes or more adventurous passes,
taking more risks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually to that point, as a mental note, perhaps have a look at how many times he plays diagonal ball. So the long ball,
Yeah.
isn't always straight down the middle and over the top of the last defender. It's a cross to
Especially
bring
now
into
we've got
play,
fast wide players.
to bring into play a wide player who hasn't seen the ball for 5 minutes, who's got loads of space as well.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
go back to your point about defending, some of his defending is cringeworthy. You know, sometimes he just puts a leg out or what have you. But maybe that's effective. And last season he got better throughout the season. First 5 or 6 games last year he was all over the place
Yeah.
and made loads of mistakes. But then you have a look at some of the throwing your body in front of the ball type attempts, and there's no one better than him.
Yeah.
Hadn't he? Was it last year that he come back from the World Cup 2024? Yeah. So like, I think for about the first
Was it
month.
Copa America? Because 22 was the World Cup, and then that.
Oh yeah, we cover America then.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
But he did look like he was having a 30-day hangover
Yeah.
after he got back.
No, indeed. He's a wonderful player. Like, don't get me wrong. And on that, he's signed a new long-term contract which we knew was probably coming, right? Like, he's been made captain.
Well, I don't think he would have been made captain without it. For
Correct.
sure.
Yeah. So that's to bed. I'm just talking about another central defender. There was a moment in the game, and I couldn't tell you who the Burnley player was, but it was like he was a couple of yards ahead of Van der Ven. And as soon as I saw it play out, I was like, Van der Ven will catch him. And as predicted, he just did. He just blasted past him, got the ball. And
So
it just
nice
made
to have
so
that.
easy. Yeah,
to know
he's
you've
so
got that
quick.
to rely on.
Yeah. Be really interesting to see how Van der Ven goes this season under new management. And
See whether it protects his Achilles and all his
there's
hammies
that.
and everything.
Under new management, but also under new medical team, as I understand it. Like in terms of, there's been another overhaul, hasn't there? In terms of who's running the show.
I think a lot, hopefully, because of the way we've set up, a lot less sprinting,
Well,
which I think doesn't help.
Yeah.
I think our defenders ended up running back towards the goal way too much last season. So, yeah.
I think you're right. Less sprinting means you can do more defending. But actually having someone like Jed Spence, who I thought had another pretty good game.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You know, the game against PSG, just digressing slightly, I felt really sorry for Spence because Spence had a really good game, but not only did PSG in the last 15 minutes double up, but they tripled up on his side of the pitch.
And he didn't get a lot of help.
Yeah, and that's right. And against Burnley, a couple of times he got caught defending too far in, and again Burnley went wide, and he had to try and jivvy between the two.
Yeah.
So I think Spurs have missed a trick there. We'll need to tighten that area up because when he gets the ball and goes forward, he's as dangerous as anybody. He's another typical style wing back, and that also helps Van der Ven not have to keep taking the ball out of defence on his own and doing these marauding runs.
I got a lot of time for Spence. I think Spence is maybe the England left back answer, and I will continue to bang that drum until he's called up to the squad. I was absolutely distraught last season when Tuchel picked a bunch of absolute rabble, basically. He picked some terrible players. He brought players from Saudi Arabia and people who have been out the squad for like 3 years. And I think that at the time, Spence hadn't put a foot wrong and he'd been playing consistently well on the left-hand side because we'd had so many injuries. I was gutted for him, really.
I think the Man City game on Saturday is going to be interesting because I think Spence will see that as a real challenge. You know, the quality of opposition will go up, tenfold on Saturday. But, you listen to Spence talk and he gets really down in the dumps if a player beats him. His job as a defender is to defend, number one, and go forward, number two. And I think he'll see playing against Doku, I don't know which side Doku plays, but if Doku comes across to his side, I think he'll see that and shutting the players down and maybe tracking Haaland as a real challenge for him.
I honestly think that Udogi's got a job on his hands to get that place back in the team. Maybe they'll rotate, but at the moment, I think that Spence has been playing really well, and I like Udogi, but you don't generally break up a winning formula, do you? It's
probably a good problem to have.
It's the same thing with Richarlison, right? I mean, at the moment, I think maybe Slanky might play against Man City if he's fit enough. Maybe he's been careful with him because he's worried about him breaking down again. But again, in the same vein, this will be 3 games in 2 weeks for Richarlison, which is usually like the cue for his biscuit legs to break.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's not the case.
We haven't really touched on him, but Sarr probably will start against City. I think it'll be Paulinho, Bentancur, and Sarr. as the midfield. I think
Sarr would be one of the first names on the team sheet. He's
he's
been
playing
an
so well in the
absolute
team.
engine, hasn't
Yeah.
he? He's been up and down
Yeah.
the pitch. I've been really impressed with him all through pre-season, and he's been really reliable.
You talk about
Definitely.
Carlton coming into the territory of 3 games on the bounce. How far do we think Solanke is away from starting then? Because he came on against PSG, came on against Burnley, but he's not getting lots and lots of minutes, is he? But at least he's featuring, I suppose.
No, I think, Solanke is a wonderful worker, but that mantra kind of wears thin after a while when he's not scoring goals.
Because that's his job.
If you think about, why he's there, he was there because he was a goal scorer at Bournemouth. And we haven't seen that prolific, he's in space, he's got a chance, he's put it away style play from him. It's more as a team player up front, as a target man, someone to run off him like a Son when he was there.
Rarely see him in space.
Yeah, so rather than run around like a headless chook, it might be that he could do less work and target his efforts more to putting away chances. And in that respect, he shouldn't be that far away. But if the team expect him to run around, and do, 8-10 kilometres a game, I don't think that's the right way to play him. He obviously has got the engine for it, but when you pick up an injury and you've got to do that amount of work, it takes a heck of a lot longer to come back and be that good.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah,
so, what are we thinking ahead of the Man City game? Bit of trepidation. Do you think we can? I think we can go there and get something. I think we've got the manager who will, as is proven, right, against PSG, more than match them. But what are we
It's also
thinking?
a team, remember, that he's played many times already.
He's got a pretty good record there.
He does, yeah.
And we do as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We've got the Indian sign over him. And he seems to have been outthought Pep on a number of occasions. So it could be the perfect match.
Well, it's the perfect match for me because it's a 9:30 p.m. kickoff.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, 11:30 for you, Richard.
Yeah, not too bad. And then we've got the All Blacks the following morning. They're playing in Argentina, so not much sleep. But I look at Man City, and if I was to be a betting man, and I'm not, I would put money on Man City for the title. I think Liverpool have got too many players that need to gel. They've got some excellent signings, without doubt. But so have Man City. Man City have made 2 or 3 really good signings. They don't need that many. They just needed a bit of a rev up. I'm actually quite worried. I'm quite worried because I think we could rock up believing, because we parked the bus against Man United and we did a really good job against PSG, that against Man City we could do something similar and we'll be okay. If we do that, I don't think we will be. I think to your point earlier, Glenn, about playing 5 across back with wing backs who attack, I think that's a far better approach, because I think Man City are vulnerable when just like any massive team, if you run at them, the All Blacks are exactly the same in rugby. If you run at them, they fold. If you don't run at them, they run at you.
Well, and to that point, I remember when we went up there under Ange Postecoglou and we had many players missing and everyone was saying to him, are you going to go defensive? Are you going to pack in? And he didn't. He just stuck to his principles and went for it, and we got something,
4-0.
Yeah. Well, that was the one before that. The 4-0, but then there was the one before that where we got, I think it was a 3-3 draw.
That's right. We scored in the last minute, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
So
I think if you listen to Frank about playing attacking football, and perhaps not the gung-ho style that Ange was into, right? And to be fair, he probably took our approach to playing stylistically a lot of leaps forward. But when you go backwards, and it's like watching the Keystone Cops when we go backwards, it was score 5 and let in 7. But I think against Man City, if we just sit back and just soak up the pressure we're going to get done. I think if we go out and attack when we can and be a constant threat, I think Man City will have some problems breaking us down across the whole of the pitch.
Well,
and
I
to
think
your point about Sarr, I think Sarr is key to that.
Yeah. I think that what you just said is effectively what we showed against PSG, right? Which was we didn't sit. We played 5 at the back, but we didn't sit and wait. We had most of the running. We had most of the better chances against them, and there was a reason we were 2-0 up. It was because we were all over them for a large percentage of the match. So I'm hoping that something similar. Yes, we're robust and solid at the back, but actually it doesn't stop us still trying to probe the team
No,
for
I think if
chances.
if we get the ball to Kudus against Kelly, Rico Lewis will be
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant to watch. It'll be a great game.
Yeah, I quite like the sound of that.
I'm somewhere in the middle on like I don't. There are some concerns there because it's City and they're a good side and they look really good against Wolves. But I think we'll go there and get something. I really do. I think we'll get a draw. I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be a score draw, like 1-1 or 2-2 or something. I really do. I feel we've got the manager that has the ability to tweak not just before the game but in game as well. We've got someone we can look to and say, okay. And our bench is becoming ever more. And it's weird to say that, but there do seem to be more options, right? And I think, is that just because we've got a manager who will change system maybe in a game, rather than looking and going, oh, well, we know exactly how we're going to play. Some might call it flat track bullies, but we've now got a guy that will switch it up. So I feel pretty optimistic. Maybe it's just the 9:30 p.m.'s getting me all excited.
Yeah, but you'll be into your fifth beer by then, eh?
Yeah, indeed. Graham, where do you sit, mate?
I'd be happy with a draw, maybe a 2-2, 1-1. I think we'll make chances and hopefully we'll take them, but I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, which I'm okay with. I'd take a point now. And if you look at the next, if we've got coming up, we've got Bournemouth, Leeds, forget the other one. There's a few. So we've got a few games where we could get some points. We could have matched last season's tally by Christmas. It's embarrassing. Someone said to me with the win against Burnley at the weekend, we've now got 7.9% of our points from last season already from one match.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad when you think about it like that.
I think if you want an opinion, I think a draw would be a good result. I wouldn't put it past Tottenham to win the game at all. But I do think if the approach, like I say, we'll have everyone back, I think we'll get mullered because we're good at getting picked off for whatever reason. We seem not to be able to have the quality of defending when we're under pressure. We've managed to show that we're getting better at dealing with it. But I'll go back to the Keystone Cops thing, right? When 2 or 3 goals up, I can remember West Ham a few years ago with 3-0 up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Under Mourinho, yeah.
And we just kick the ball up in the air, chuck the ball down the lines, back to their wing backs, and then suddenly we're on the back foot and we're making mistakes. And everybody's capable of making a mistake, right? But we're not good enough.
Was it Revel Morrison?
Quality defending.
Well, that happened once. Ravel Morrison.
Morrison.
That was even further back, but the one
Was
Richard's referring to, I think, is the one under Mourinho when Bale came on. It was his second debut, wasn't it? And we were like, hey, Bale's back. And then it was like, oh, shit, we were 3-0 up. Perfect scenario to put him in, and we drew 3-3.
Yeah.
Classic Spurs.
I also remember...
I feel optimistic because we've got a manager who's got in his toolbox systems and tactics that he can deploy, like you say, in game, which is fantastic. As long as we, again, have a fit bench, I think bench could play a role. Against PSG, the criticism I would have there is he left the changes too late. And maybe...
But maybe he knew that the drop-off from the starting 11 to the bench would have an impact, and that's effectively what happened, right? The changes didn't help. Even fresh legs, they just weren't at the same, just didn't work.
They weren't at the races, were they, at all?
No. So, speaking of losing from winning positions and to keep it Man City topical, there's obviously the
Cup game
where we were 3-0 up at half
red
time.
card as well, wasn't it?
Joey Barton got sent off going down the tunnel, and then we lost 4-3. I remember all the bad ones.
That would have been January of 2004 because it was a cup game, and the reason I remember that so vividly is I was actually backpacking in Australia at the time. And there was no access then, like really, especially to cup games and things. So it wasn't on. But I was going somewhere the next day and there was a group of Irish lads that I knew. And they go, oh, did you see the result? Did you see the result? And I was like, no, I haven't. I didn't. And the newspaper, because I think internet, I can't remember what it was, internet. Anyway, I remember seeing it in a newspaper. And I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
was that the same? Was that when you met your wife?
Yeah. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Same time, mate. So yeah, and we're still very, very happy. So there you go. 20 what's that? 20-something years, 22 years later. But one thing we haven't really covered in a great deal of detail is obviously we touched on Romero signed a long-term deal. Spence has too. Eze apparently is close to being done. is what I'm hearing. But Graeme, I don't know if you've got more.
So
intel.
just this evening, I saw Fabrizio Romano said it's 85% done, and I said to Josh and Thomas, just hope that 85% includes his legs. So, but
Well, but it seems to be, from what I could read, that Palace are the deal's going to happen, but they're very much focused on getting the replacement in. So they were saying, "Oh, he's still going to play in the Europa League conference," which I have a fundamental problem with.
yeah,
I
because
can
if
see
he's
something bad
tied
happening here.
for Champions League,
Yeah. So, well, I don't think he gets cut tied. I think that's not a thing because it's two different competitions. I'm more worried about him getting injured. But
did you also see that? The other thing I read was that Paratici is consulting for Palace to find a replacement.
is that right? I didn't
He's
know
playing
that.
both sides, isn't he? He's a double agent.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the quicker we can get them a replacement, the quicker we can have him.
Look,
It's genius, really.
it's a brilliant signing if we can get it over the line. I'd like to have been about a month earlier, but there you are.
Yeah, that was last episode's rant.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time I see Eze, I get the chills, you know, and especially when he scores. I mean, the goal that was disallowed at the weekend against Chelsea was an absolute corker. And to be honest with you, if we can finally attract that level of player, then I feel slightly better for the future. I don't know enough about Savinho's situation because I keep hearing rumours and what have you. But I think Eze, to your point, Glenn, you know, should have been with us a month ago. I just hope that Levy, in his very accustomed way, has got a discount if Eze plays on Thursday.
Yeah, I can see that. Is it?
So if you're going to be that insistent, if you're not going to put him from the squad and you're going to play him, and let's say your intention is to play him for the majority of the game so you get through, then we want a discount button. Thank you.
At least it's at home. I had this horrible fear they were travelling to back and beyond and it was going to be on a horrible pitch or, you know.
So like Albania or...
Yeah, and that's Norwegian team they're playing, so maybe
Did
it'll
you
be
see the Roy Keane interview yesterday after...
Oh, Mark Gahey, the whole thing with Glasner and Gahey.
Yeah, and also the fact that Crystal Palace need to find their place. I thought that was quite an interesting phraseology, right? Which was Crystal Palace have brought through some really good players, but they need to know that's what their job is in the Premiership, right? Unless or until they get to a point where their players win big championships like the Premier League or a European trophy or the FA Cup again, right? And until they do that and then they're thought of as a major power, they are actually a selling club. And they should realise that they have the ability to build their squad from the proceeds of selling their players. Now, it's not the buying club's problem that Gahey's only got a year left on his contract. It's not the buying club's problem that Eze's 27 and is wanted.
In his prime, wanted, yeah.
And that they've lost. Who else they lost? Who did they lose to?
Michael Elise.
Elise, of course.
Elise last year, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that. Actually, it's what they do with the proceeds of that. That's the big thing. And someone turned around in some other interview and said, well, look, at the end of the day, if their setup, if their recruiting, if their management of players is that good, they should be actually building a squad that's going to win something decent in 2-3 years' time. And I think to myself, actually, that's an organic way of growing your club. And so if you think along those lines, maybe they should just suck it and do the right thing.
Well, maybe along the lines with Keane, I would say I have very little to no sympathy for the fans. We tolerated that for long enough. When I go back to
exactly. Yeah, you've just described.
Carrick.
I was just thinking about it. You just basically described us, right? It's
Yeah.
we like losing Michael Carrick after one good season. That stuff like that. We've been through it all, haven't we?
Yeah, so I'm quite happy to be pinching players.
Something I'd like to point out about Eze, though. Eze is another one of a long list of players that David Pleat has told us that we should buy when they were cheap at their original club. So it's him, Dele Alli, who's the other one I was thinking about? Madison as well. Yeah. All of whom we've ended up paying big fees for. And we could have got them for peanuts when he recommended them.
I mean, Pleat, he doesn't near get the credit that he deserves for me as both a Tottenham manager when we maybe could have won the league, could have won the double back
87.
that season. Yeah, and then just he's a very, very intelligent man. Like he's on a few podcasts. He's done football London or football something with BBC. I don't know how much he does these days. I think he's getting on the upper echelons of age, but he's a very intelligent man. That guy with football and scouting, and so you're quite right. He's always got an eye to say, sign him.
Yeah, when Pleat talks, you listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's one other name that I saw mentioned, which is Takefusa Kubo, which
Where's
I
he
think
from?
I think he's at Real Sociedad.
Okay.
Now, apparently, he's our plan B if Savinho doesn't happen, which is looking more likely it won't at this point.
The
I think
player
we've made
wants it though, right? I think it comes down to more what the clubs are trying to work out. According to the reports I've read, Savinho wants it. It's a World Cup year, and he wants to be playing regularly.
But it's just how much money they want and whether we're willing to pay it. And I know the answer will probably be, no, we're not willing to pay it, or not that much.
You could see
a bit
a
rich
loan-
for me.
A loan to buy, maybe.
Yeah.
And yet, we're a club also that, although struggles to get players in, we struggle to get rid of them as well. I mean, Manor should have gone by now. Brian Hill, he should have been gone by now. Basuma is hanging on. He's doing a Wanyama. Remember Wanyama? He was on 55 grand, and he basically said, "You got to prize me out of the club." You've got probably the best stadium in Europe. You've got the most fantastic training ground. You've got all these physios and God knows what else looking after your health. And all you got to do is turn up on a Saturday and play football.
Yeah.
And yet we can't seem to oust these players that really don't have a future. That would put 15, 20, whatever $1 million in the bank. That eases up the difference between what we're prepared to pay for a player like Savinho and what we should be playing.
Yeah, and that's actually the case for. I was thinking about this when we were talking about this Eze for 67 million. Like we could have last time. I think I've said another one of my many rants. The last time we were on, I said that the difference between what we were willing to pay for Morgan Gibbs White and what Eze was, his release cost was 67, I think. 7 million is what? It's like selling one of our under 21 players or something. It's not like we could have probably sold Divine for 7 million.
But even if news
He
was
scored,
to break,
by the way, he scored at the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Lancashire.
Lancashire, yeah, he scored.
Yeah, he scored for Oxford. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. But even if tomorrow, for us, Rich and I woke up and overnight or during England's day, we've signed him and it's 75 million, that wouldn't be overpaying for me in this market. I'd be like, yeah, he's worth about that. 75 million sounds about right for an Eze at 27 years old.
If we don't pay it, someone else will. And then we'll miss the opportunity. And that's happened to us too many times.
There's another part of me that is punching the air if we get him, and that is that Arsenal didn't. and I understand the reason. One of the reasons why Arsenal didn't get it was because Eze was not guaranteed the number 10 spot.
Yeah, it's Odegaard, isn't it?
Odegaard there. I watched a podcast the other day with Tony Adams, who can be a bit left field, but also can be very spot on. And that was that Odegaard should not be the captain.
I saw the same thing.
It should be Declan Rice. And therefore, Odegaard should be freed up to do whatever he's going to do. I know this isn't an Arsenal podcast, but all that kind of emphasis on Odegaard meant that Eze was kind of lost in the conversation a little bit. And I'm thinking, well, with us,
We've got an Eze-shaped hole in the middle of the pitch.
We have, indeed, we do.
Yeah,
and it's kind of made for him to fill.
And the great thing for him is he has got no competition for the next 6 to 9 months, probably. It's his to make his own. He can come in and play in the Champions League straight away.
I'm getting ahead of myself here because the signing's not done yet, but does he get the number 7 shirt then? Because obviously Sonny's gone, so that's not being used at the moment. Because I think Maddison's number 10, isn't he? So you would assume Eze slots in.
You can't. I was just thinking, no, we won't take that off him. That would be...
I must
talk about kicking a man when he's down.
I was going to say, I do fear for Maddison.
Oh, I do too.
Very rarely do players with ACLs, especially creative twisters and turners like he is, do they come back a better player.
Well,
it's taken an awful long time to reach previous heights if they get there at all.
My mate said the same here. I said, I think this is obviously all with Maddison not being available, but he said, or we're just looking at the future without a Maddison there as well, which is a shame.
I
I absolutely feel
bad
for
for
the
him. That was
Yeah,
the case, yeah.
You never, even players at clubs I hate, when you get an ACL, maybe it's Sol Campbell.
It was completely It was completely under no challenge, though.
It was
right?
very similar to Michael Owens in the World Cup of '06, wasn't it? Where you're not near it and it just went. So.
Just a twist the wrong way or something, and snap.
Nasty. But no, good stuff. Well, I didn't have a great deal else for this week's episode other than to thank you, Richard, for joining. It's been wonderful to have you on. You take the award for our furthest from the UK guest because you're further than I am. Yeah.
Can I just do a quick plug?
Of course.
Kiwi Spurs.
Oh, what a badge! How good is that?
I like that. That's very cool.
One of those, and we have a lovely pin badge, which is fantastic quality. This, it's a lovely silver pin.
Very
badge.
nice.
Can they be purchased on your website?
Yes, you can. And this year we've gone back to
nice.
Emulating the Spurs.
I do like that. That's very cool.
Members or premium members, they get the choice of either one of these three gifts as well as part of their membership. We here are, you're right, we're a million miles away from the rest of the world, but we're just as fervent, we're just as knowledgeable, we're just as behind the club, and we got some real acerbic characters in our group as well. We've got one or two oldies who've got a turn of phrase that would make you cry some days. So whenever you want us back on again, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As always, we say to our guests, push the content for us. We're always about new guests, new listeners, new viewers. So, absolutely. Yep. Been a pleasure to have you on,
It's been
mate.
great to see you too. Thank you very much for the invite. And come on, you Spurs, as they say.
Come on, you Spurs. Graeme, I'll let you take us home, mate.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And as Richard and Glen have both said, come on, you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.